I got tired of waiting on Sterling to get up here and introduce me, so I'm just going to hop up here and let's get started. Sit down. And welcome. Glad you could make it to the, this is the 18th annual Boys and Girls Club Steak and Steak event, sponsored by Locos and also by Keba as well. And Jamie, our thanks. Let's give Jamie Lofton, his staff, his company, a big hand. Everybody that's associated with it, thanks so much. I'm Alan Tibbetts. My job is to be the flow master. That is about the only job I have. So we're going to get this thing flowing right now. We'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Kashandra Glenn will come up and lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're all good. And now with our invocation, let's welcome Kimora Holiday. Did I say your name right? Kimora? Come on up. You can adjust that. Put it down a little bit.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
And now, let's have some food. Let's eat, shall we? Got a great program. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Newland, and on behalf of 3 generations of my family here tonight, welcome. Friends, we are in for an inspirational treat tonight, and it's the 3rd time I've had the chance of hearing our speaker. Damien Horn, who nowadays hails from Nashville, Tennessee, is an actor, international recording artist, songwriter, and as I can vouch, an all-around good person, a person of faith, of deep convictions. And last but certainly not least in his attributes, he is an alumnus of the Salvation Army Boys and Girls Clubs of Hickory, North Carolina. He is a living example of what we all could be and should be, and what we hope for all of our young people who attend our clubs. When you leave here tonight, you will be happy you had the opportunity to hear Damien, and proud to see what we can do when we have community support and resources. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Damien Horn.
Good evening. I'm excited to be here because I get the opportunity to share my story and what the Boys and Girls Club means to me and what it's done for me. And so I don't take this lightly. It definitely is a privilege to be here and to be able to do that. Thanks for everybody being here and the sacrifices you make day in and day out for these young people. How many people know who Kobe Bryant is? We got any Kobe Bryant fans out there? I know my man Trevon right there is. And well, tomorrow will be his 20th year, his final game for his 20th year in the league. And it's funny because when I think back 20 years ago, I remember sitting in the same seat pretty much where Macarius is at right now, and being at a what we called a steak and burger dinner at the time. I think you guys have upgraded to steak and steak. I like that. And just being in that same seat and not knowing about the future, but being a part of an organization that was changing my life, in the process of changing my life, and later on, those lessons and things that I learned came back full circle. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my story, who I am, what the Boys and Girls Club means to me, and just share with you guys. So I grew up in Hickory, North Carolina. It's where I'm from, born and raised. I'm one out of 12 children, from a blended family of 12 children, 6 sisters, 5 brothers, and I was right smack dab in the middle. And I was the shy one, and I was always the victim of the older brothers or at the mercy of, the younger kids, and just always in the middle, shy, and just the recipient of everything that was around me. At a very young age, I started seeing a lot of death and destruction and horrible things happen in my life. I grew up in the projects there, and we used to always take refuge, me and my brothers, at the basketball court. It's what we love to do. We love to shoot ball, and we would find a rec center, and we shoot ball till the street lights came on, and my mom said it's time to get back to the house. And at the age of 14, my older brother, who was 19, was murdered at one of the rec centers that we used to go into and play basketball. And so I started to see really early things in my life that were showing me that was what life was for me. I lost one of my older brothers, later to lose another older brother to the streets. And after that, lost 2 of my younger brothers to prison. So this is what I started seeing day in and day out. I had a father who was never around. He was an alcoholic. And I had a single mother who to this day can't read or write, but worked hard every day in order to put food on the table and clothes on our backs. And but this was what I was seeing in life. And when you're that age and you're seeing these kind of things day in and day out, you feel like that's your only option. You feel like that's all you have to achieve in life. And maybe some of the kids and some people in here understand that position. But I remember stepping into the gym halls of the Boys and Girls Club at an early age, and how that started to shift the way that I thought about life. Now, up until this process, before I came to the Boys and Girls Club, like I said, I'm starting to see death and destruction in my family. I'm watching brothers and loved ones go to prison in and out. But when I walked into the halls of the Boys and Girls Club, I automatically started feeling a different kind of energy there. I noticed people would look me in the eye and tell me positive things as opposed to negative things about who I was as a person. And it took a little while, because you have to think I was a child at the time who was dealing with a lot that was happening, and I didn't know how to handle these emotions and these things. And I used to act out with my temper. I would fight a lot and get kicked out of school or get kicked out of the Boys and Girls Club. I remember at one particular time getting in an altercation at the Boys and Girls Club where I used a pool stick on another member and was suspended possible charges brought up on me. And it's so far removed from where I am now, and it's so far in the past, it's almost like a different life. But I know that to be the truth because of what the Boys and Girls Club meant to me and what it did in my life. When I was going to the Boys and Girls Club, one of the ways I used to always get out these frustrations and things was I would write poetry. I would always sit down in what we had was our little library away from the rest of the kids, and I would just write the way I was feeling, write what was on my mind. And I remember that being the first time I felt like I had anything to offer to this world, when our executive director, who I can remember and I can still contact to this day, Mr. Jerry Sorrow, walked over to me. He says, "What are you writing in that book right there?" I says, "It's none of your business." This is the kind of attitude he was dealing with at the time. He's like, "Let me see." So I eventually let him see, and he just saw me put lyrical phrases and things together. He says, "You have a talent for with words." And I remember him saying that to me, and I was like, he don't even know me. And it just kind of went on, but he kept coming back and nurturing that ability, that talent that I had. And before I knew it, I was in front of people reading these poems. This shy little kid from a family of 12 reading poems. And the next thing I know, I was turning those poems into songs. And those songs I was singing in front of people. And I remember once that started happening in my life, because of the influence he had and other members like Cheryl Loudermilk and Cynthia and Anna and Becky, people who I can name to this day because they had such a big impact on my life. Once these things started happening, it started this process in my mind. And if there's anything big that I feel like I could say today is that when a child or any person starts to believe up here what they're able to achieve, then they can start living it out. But it has to happen up here first. And before that, I never thought I was worth anything. I thought my options were death or prison. And then until I came to the Boys and Girls Club, somebody told me, "Hey, you have a gift." you have a talent at a certain tool that you can offer the world and offer society. And it sprung from there. After that, I became the first one in my family to graduate from high school. And I remember thinking that was a huge thing. You know, I was like, oh, I did it. But then once it was done, I was like, okay, now what do I do? But in that process, one of the first lessons I learned at the Boys and Girls Club is I had to watch the company that I was keeping. I had to find a path that was for me, that had purpose, and I had to walk in that path. And it was a hard thing to do because I had friends in the streets who were doing all other kinds of things, and even family members. And it was a tough lesson for me to learn, which brought about this particular song that I wrote here called Walking. And I'm a musician. I'm not much of a speaker, so as we go through this story of my life, I'll sing some of the things that I want to tell you as opposed to say it. This song is called Walking, and it talks about finding your own path, making your own direction, and then walking in that path. And sometimes that's a hard thing to do because you have to go against the grain. You have to go against the crowd. But in the end, it's definitely worth it. Taking the long road, 'cause I can do that all by myself. I'm doing it solo. I won't be a slave to no one else. See the way I think, you can better learn from your mistakes and the way that I see. It'd be best for me if I keep walking on my oh. So what is your problem? Keep banging your head against the wall. You want me to solve them? It might be better if you fall. See the way I think, sometimes you better learn from your mistakes and the way that I see. It'd be best for me if I keep walking on my It's clear to me that we don't see things eye to eye. How about you go your way and I'll go mine? Yeah. See the way that I think, sometimes you better learn from your mistakes and the way that I see. It'd be best for me if I keep walking on my So I graduate from high school, and I remember thinking this was just a momentous occasion and a big milestone in my life. The cool thing that it did, which that I like to bring up every time, is that it began that transformation in my mind once again, made me start to believe again, once again, there was things bigger and better that I can achieve. If I could do this, then maybe I could do that. And if I can do this, maybe I can do that. And it was funny, Trevon, we were just sitting over here talking just a second ago, and he was saying, you don't know unless you go out and try. You never know. It's a definite no if you don't even make that opportunity to do it. And so I was like, all right, I graduated from high school. The next step is I'm going to pursue my dreams as an entertainer. Now, growing up, being a middle child, even though I was shy at home, I always try to make my house like the Cosby Show. I was the guy who was like pulling my sisters and brothers, all right, you're going to sing this part, and you do this part, and I will do this. And I remember I loved entertaining people and loved doing that kind of thing. And so I'm from Hickory, North Carolina. I had never really been outside of that area, but I knew on television you could see if you want to be a big star, you go to Hollywood, California. So right after I graduated from high school, I saved up a whopping $400, and I bought a one-way Greyhound bus ticket to Hollywood, California. I packed all my stuff in one suitcase, bought this bus ticket, and made my way to Hollywood, California. Now, when I got there, I found out really quickly that $400 is not near enough money to survive in Hollywood, California. And because of that, I found myself homeless there for the next 2 years, sleeping in squats, which are like abandoned buildings, down at the Missions, Skid Row. The Covenant House was a big influence in helping me get back on my feet. But there was also other things that I learned at the Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club that allowed me to stay strong during those moments. Not only did the Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club first give me my opportunity to exercise this gift that I had, but they were also responsible in cultivating my faith and my belief in God. And I remember how important that was for me and how it played a big part in being in this season where I had nothing around me to depend on except God. And so the things that I learned there through the Boys and Girls Club was coming back around full circle, trusting in God and moving forward and knowing the plans that he has for me to prosper and not to fail. And these are things I had to keep speaking to myself because nobody was around to say that. But I knew them to be true. And I remember how people were constantly placed throughout my life to tell me and reassure me of those things, including my mother, who I'll be the first to say that I'm a mama's boy. I'm a big fan of my mother's. She's such a strong woman, and she also spoke those kind of things in my life. But this particular song is some of the things she would say to me as a young man, even when I found myself in crazy situations. She would always say, joy comes in the morning. My mama said there'll be days like this when the world's beating you down. Round me up in her arms, gave me a kiss. Said, don't you worry, boy, you'll figure out. Oh, you'll figure out. If you don't back down, don't give up. Change gon' come in the morning time. If you stand your ground, stand and fight, child, it will be alright when you open the curtain and welcome the morning light. Now that I'm older and on my own, out chasing my dreams every day. Oh, when I stumble and when I fall, I still hear my mama and what she would say. I can hear her say, baby, don't back down, don't give up. Change gon' come in the morning time. If you stand your ground, stand and fight, child, it will be alright when you open the curtain and welcome the morning. 'Cause in the morning there is joy, unspeakable joy, and all his promises, they are new for you. So don't back down, don't give up. Change gon' come in the morning time. If you stand your ground, stand and fight, child, it will be alright when you open the curtain and welcome the morning light. Oh, yes, it will. 'Cause my mama said there'll be days like this. So I find myself this teenager who's homeless in California, Hollywood, California, from a small little country town, Hickory, North Carolina, not knowing where I'm at, not knowing what's going to happen, but things that keep ringing true in my head are things that I learned from the Boys and Girls Club. First of all, that belief in myself and the capabilities that I had, the belief in God, and then also the fact that now that I have this kind of mindset and this mentality, I can move forward, and no matter what obstacle kind of gets in the way, and I've seen and been through, that I can overcome it. And that's a big key to learn just as a person in general. And I know a lot of times when you come from crazy backgrounds like that, it's hard to see. It's hard to see what the future looks like. And so you have to find that internal strength. You have to have that strength from God that you connect with in order to make that real in your own lives. And I remember in these times where I was kind of at my lowest point, I remember thinking, looking back on this hindsight now, how important that was for my life to cultivate me into the person that I am today. And one thing that I discovered in being homeless, that I didn't want to just be an entertainer. And I think that was the biggest epiphany that I had out of that moment in my life, was that I didn't want to just entertain people. I wanted to inspire people. I wanted to encourage people. I wanted to give people the same kind of hope that I had ignited in my life. I remember, like I said, sitting on the other side of this podium and thinking, man, maybe all I have ahead of me is death or prison. And then because of the Boys and Girls Club and its influence on me, and the volunteers and the people who've donated money and the staff, because of those people and the relentlessness that they had in my life, even when I didn't deserve it, brought me through that and gave me a different outlook on life and gave me a different way to view things. And so I found that's what I wanted to do with my life, and my tool is music, and somebody else's tool may be, donating. Some other people's is volunteering or working at the club, however that may be. But I found out that my way of doing that was going to be through music and entertaining people. So I wanted to have a purpose behind what I'm doing, and which brought about my this song called Somebody's Hero, and it's from my first solo album back in 2007. And this song really just kind of talks about what people have been in my life, what the Jerry Sorrows have been in my life, what the Cheryl Lattimilks have been in my life from the Boys and Girls Club. They have literally been heroes, because if they didn't come and they didn't speak these things into my life, I really believe that my future would have been death or prison. But because of those people and because of their influence and because of them not giving up on me, I can stand here today with a totally different story. And I realized that's what I wanted to do in life, and so that's what this song is about. It's called Somebody's Hero. I guess you can say I am afraid of the man I haven't been, but I guess you may feel that I haven't been real, just hiding from everything. But the weight of the world is waiting on me to stop wearing my heart under my sleeve. 'Cause I was meant to fly, meant to shine. Gotta find the better man in me before I die. Even if I bleed, just gotta be somebody's hero.
But as I sat there in Augusta and waited to be picked up, which didn't happen, I got thinking about how the game of golf and the game of life is similar. Imagine how philosophical you can get at Augusta National. But in order to be successful in the game of golf, you have to have a full bag full of clubs. You can't just have one club, because you're not going to get very far just playing with one club. You need a full bag of clubs. And that's the way it is in the game of life. You can't have just one skill and one attribute. You have to have a whole bag of skills and attributes in order to be successful. You know, in the game of golf, in order to get going really good, you need a good wood. And this is a good wood. Doesn't work too well for me, but it's a good wood. Or a good fairway wood, or a good driver. In the game of life, you need academic success. That's what gets you down the road towards success. Where a driver may get that ball down the fairway, academic success will get you down the road towards success. And you know, as you get closer to that hole, you need a good iron. And that iron is going to get you close to your goal. In life, you need healthy habits and healthy lifestyles in order to get close to your goal. And then, when you get real close to the hole, you need a pitching wedge or you need a putter in order to get that ball in the bottom of the hole and achieve your goal. Where in life, you need good character and good citizenship in order to achieve your goal. So at the Boys and Girls Club, we don't just promote one skill or one attribute. We try to give our young people a whole bag full of skills and attributes that they can use in order to be successful. And it is indeed my pleasure tonight to introduce to you our 3 Youth of the Year who are well on their way to becoming the next Masters champions in the game of life. If I can have Damien come back up and James Whitley come on up, and y'all are going to help me present these Youth of the Year awards. You tell them what to do. Sterling's in charge here. He'll tell them where to go. And the plaques are down here. First up, our Youth of the Year recipient from the club at H.T. Edwards is Isaiah Dotson. Isaiah is a 7th grader at Athens Christian Middle School, where he participates in track, cross-country, wrestling, choir, band, jazz band, and drumline. He has appeared in several plays, including The Wizard of Oz, Beauty and the Beast, and Inspector Detector in the Case of Precious Treasure. Up to this year, Isaiah's always been a straight-A student, but now he's dropped down to like a B+. We're going to work on that. This year, Isaiah was selected by Representative Spencer Fry to serve as a page for the Georgia House of Representatives. He also participated in the Athens Christmas Parade as a special guest of Mayor Nancy Benson. When Isaiah is not doing all the above, he is at the club socializing with his peers and playing basketball. Isaiah has been a member of the club for 8 years. Isaiah is accompanied tonight by his mother, Marcia Dotson. Please join me once again in congratulating Isaiah Dotson. The Youth of the Year recipient from the Winder-Barrow County Boys and Girls Club is Nadia Brooks. A member of the Boys and Girls Club since 2009, Nadia serves on the Keystone Board of Officers, performs bookkeeping and clock management during club league basketball games, volunteers during summer camp, and participates regularly in a variety of programs and activities. She wears an eclectic brand of leadership, poise, and intelligence. Club members describe Nadia as honest, helpful, and easy to talk to. Staff members describe her as intelligent, respectful, joyful, and one who leads by example. Nadia is a freshman at Winder Barrow High School, and she currently carries a grade point average of 89. One more point. We need to get that up. One of her goals is to graduate in the upper echelon in the class of 2019, then attend Princeton University to study criminal justice and law. She aspires to be an attorney and practice up north or on the West Coast. Guess you want to get away from Winder, huh? You had enough of that? Okay. She attends Kingdom Community Church in Winder, Georgia, where she participates in musical dance and the Awana Club. Nadia has been nominated to attend the National Youth Conference in Boston, Massachusetts. She is accompanied tonight by her mother and stepfather, Keontae and Garrett Lau. Please join me once again in congratulating Nadia Brooks. The 2016 Youth of the Year recipient for the Joel E. Smilo Clubhouse and the overall Organizational Youth of the Year for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Athens is Trayvon Browner. Trayvon, better known as Chili Cheese, has been a member of the Boys and Girls Club for 10 years. A sophomore at Cedar Shoal High School, Trayvon has a 3.8 grade point average. He has taken advanced classes and plans to start dual enrollment classes next year. Chili also plays baseball for Cedar Shoals. Trayvon is a member of Boulé. He volunteers annually for the cleanup duty at the Rotary Club Chicken Barbecue fundraiser and volunteers pretty much in every capacity imaginable at the Boys and Girls Club. He has been accepted for a summer intern position with USDA this summer. Just this past Saturday, Trayvon participated in the Blue and You Community Forum held at the Boys and Girls Club. Committed to a drug and alcohol-free lifestyle, Trayvon stated in his Youth of the Year application, "The biggest thing is not to follow, but be the one who is followed." Trayvon is accompanied tonight by his mother and father, Natasha and Travis Browner. Oh! So once again, please help me in recognizing Isaiah, Nadia, and Chili.
One more round of applause for these amazing leaders in our schools. My name is James Whitley, and I'm currently serving as the board chair. I'd like to take just a few minutes to thank many of the people here tonight without whom this event would not have come together. I'd like to start by thanking all the volunteers. Now, we have a number of people here from 909 Broad, a student community, part of my Landmark family. I know also Kohl's department store had a lot of their people come out tonight to help, and some others. So if you guys would just please stand, and a round of applause for those that helped tonight. Also, the Classic Center, this lovely facility, which is, of course, a staple in Athens. We thank you for your hospitality. Fairway Outdoor and Advertising, along with Cox Media, we appreciate the opportunity to help us get the word out and bring such a tremendous crowd here tonight. Our table sponsors that helped us reach our goal of fundraising tonight, thank you all for what you've done here for the club. And then, of course, our keynote speaker, Damien, very inspiring message. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Actually, we changed to a thing called Kindful, but it's the same thing.
And last but not least, I'd like to recognize a personal friend of mine who for 10 years now has dedicated his time and effort and resources to helping making the lives of these children a lot better. Through his efforts and his team's efforts at Steak and Steak, this event, along with the golf outing, the fundraiser there, he has raised over $250,000, $250,000. Just think of all the good in the lives of these kids that he's done and his team. Jamie Lofton, thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much. We really are so proud to be here year after year. Bottom line is, though, we can't do it without our crew, our Keba crew and our Locos crew, everybody at the office, and all the people who helped make this happen. We're so proud to do it, and we want to do this for another 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Absolutely. Thank y'all so much. Give us a hand for the crew.
So it looks as though we've made our goal. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
It's a new franchise.
Thank you for your support of the Boys and Girls Club. Don't forget the golf tournament, Monday, April 25th. Come on out. It's going to be a great event. Have a good night.
Yeah, I thought you were franchise.